at the Australian ITC Championships, Uprising 2023. So I thought I'd just give you a quick walk around the tournament, show you where we're at, what the event's looking like and that sort of thing, and also give you a bit of an update on my first 2 rounds. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a walkthrough of the event, and then I'll go head outside where it's a little bit more quiet, and I'll give you guys an update on how we're tracking. So I'm going to flip the camera now, and we're going to walk around. So as you can see, we're in a nice big basketball stadium, and there's some interesting games going on here. So I won't talk much because you probably can't hear me over the noise, but let's have a look at some tables. Some squats. Mids versus Marines. There's lots of Marines here. Necron versus Marines, sorry. Lots of Knights as well. Let's head out the front and have a chat. Alrighty, so I guess I'll give you guys, let's find somewhere to go chat. So update on my round, I guess. So I got paired first round into a Knights player, Imperial Knights. He had like 13 or 14 armigers, a bunch of Helverins, a bunch of Warglaives, a bunch of, the other Forge World shit, a bunch of, random armigers. And basically I had him tabled by turn 3. So my Black Legion list, so the Terminators basically Veilbreaker plate up into the middle of the table, did my Warp Ritual, and then basically sat there for a turn. He pumped a whole bunch of stuff into him, failed to kill it, killed like 3 maybe. And then on the backswing I just went in and just killed a shit ton of Knights. There was one interesting moment where I had strung out my units so that I was protecting my characters in my backfield, right? Because that were within 3 inches of my Terminators, but I was this big long conga line. And then when he fought me in melee, he did a couple of wounds, and I basically put those wounds on one of the guys at the back of my conga line, so that all my guys at the front were full health and were going to be able to go in there and smash. So that was the plan there. And then I didn't realize that Knights had a stratagem to automatically explode. And when he automatically exploded, he killed that already wounded guy that was at the back of the line, which actually created coherency issues for me, which then meant I had to remove another 3 Terminators to get back into coherency. I could have just removed the one guy at the back, but if I did that, then my characters would no longer be protected, and he would be able to just blow up all of my characters. So in order to get myself down underneath the 5 so that I'm within coherency, I had to remove 3 guys from the front of the unit, which that really fucking hurt. So I was like, wow, well played on his part. Big mistake on my part, But I just wanted to share that with you guys because that was an interesting moment, and it's a learnable lesson, make sure when you are allocating those wounds that you think about it and think, are there any other ways that he can deal damage? Because if there are, the guy that I'm allocating the wound to is going to die, I was just like, I don't think so, whatever. It's just, I guess, this guy. And I just didn't put enough thought into it. And as a result, I lost a lot of Terminators to that. Luckily, it wasn't enough for him to swing the matchup. So the Terminators that I had left were all the Melter Gun guys. So they were just running around just doing absolute crazy amounts of damage. Even the Bolter guys were dropping armigers because you put full rerolls, hits and wounds on them from Abaddon, and they actually do fucking massive amounts of damage. So yeah, I was really happy with that game. Abaddon was an absolute fucker. He was just running around killing knights like it was nobody's business. And yeah, so that was a big win to me. I can't remember what the actual score was. It was like a high 80s to me and maybe high 40s to him, something like that. And that's because like he picked, for example, the action. He has to do an action within the center of the board, and I just killed everything that was anywhere near the center of the board. So he was just not able to do those actions. He was struggling to get his yield points because I was holding the center and I just kept pushing him away from the ones in the corner, so it's hard for him to hold 3 objective markers. So yeah, that's how that game sort of panned out. And then I got paired into Adam Camilleri in the second guy. So the Hellbrutes, there's a question there. Thanks for asking, old man. Sorry, the comments pop up and then they fuck off real quick. So if I miss anything, apologies. I'm pretty sure super chats stick and then I can read them. So if there's anything that you desperately want to know, chuck it in a super chat for $1 and then I'll get it. But you asked how the Hellbrutes went, and first of all, it's Heck Brutes. They are Heck Brutes. And there they crushed, man. They did really, really well. So the list, for those not familiar, it's basically similar to my Mensa Masquerade Black Legion list. It's the big unit Terminators, all the characters you need for that, 2 Decimators and 3 Heck Brutes. Yeah, so basically against the Knight player, what I did is I just put them all in strat reserves, outflanked for free. Because this is what the Heck Brutes are in the list for, right? So you outflank them for free. They're 105 point units, so they're cheap as chips. And they come in and then they shoot things with melter guns. They shoot things with flamers. They go in, they punch things with 3 damage combat, which is really, really good, particularly into a marine heavy meta. So yeah, they're just really effective. And basically what I did is I had the Terminators run up and claim the center. And then in my turn 2, all of the Heck Brutes and the Decimators came in from one of the flanks from the side. And they blasted everything within range of that objective. And then there's another really sick trick that you can do with the Heck Brutes where if somebody shoots one of them and doesn't kill it, you can spend 1 CP to immediately shoot them back and target either the unit that shot you or the closest enemy unit. So basically he had moved one of his armigers onto that objective and then shot, he like had to advance to get onto the objective, so he's advanced over, and then he shot the Heck Brute with something else, and I'm like, yep, cool, 1 CP, I'm going to shoot my multi-melter at that armiger that's right in front of me on that objective, and my heavy flamer, and I did like 9 wounds to it, which was crazy. And then I was able to then go, cool, now in my next turn I can just throw a couple of bolters downrange into that one and pop it, and then the Terminators can go off and do other things. Whereas if I didn't have the Heck Brute in the list, that's 9 damage that fucking armiger would not have lost. Because he was so close, he was within the D6 plus 2 damage range of the multi-melter. They're fucking sick, man. They're so sick. So they performed really, really well in that Knight matchup. They go in and they punch Knights dead, and then also when they're wounded, they get reroll 1s to wound on the backswing. So if somebody shoots you and doesn't kill you, then you're shooting them back and you're getting reroll 1s to hit. And if Abaddon's nearby, they're getting reroll 1s to... reroll 1s to wound. And if Abaddon's nearby, they're also getting the reroll 1s to hit. So, yeah, the Heck Brutes were sick in that game. They were so good. There was also an interesting moment there where basically what I did with the Terminators is I jumped up forward. Yeah, someone's asked here, Seb L, are we using Arcs of Omen? Yes, we are. So that's what gave the Heck Brutes the ability to outflank for free. And it's also why the list changed, because the points cost and the Terminators and Abaddon and all that sort of stuff. But basically what I did is with my turn 1 Terminator bomb, I basically jumped up to within near the center, but 9 inches away from him. He went first, so I basically hit everything. He went first and just fanned out. And then what I did is I basically shot down two armigers with shooting from the Terminators. Because the melter guns did really good work, and the whatchamacallits, the bolters into other things, and then all the shit. But then what I did is I charged 1 and I pinned it. So I did what I call a soft charge, where what I did is I went, okay, cool. If I hit you with just these 4 models, even if I hit and wound with everything, I won't have enough damage to kill you. But it's enough damage to hurt you, right? So when I do the charge move and the pile-ins and stuff, I make it so that all of my other models are not within engagement range. Just those 4 are, which means only those 4 can attack, which means I can't kill the Armiger. And then with my pile-ins and with my consolidates after fighting, I basically wrap around it and basically lock it in. And now it can't fall back, which means he can't shoot the Terminators at all, right? And then in his turn, he's like, okay, cool. What he's going to do is he's actually going to fall back out of there, and he's going to have to spend a CP to use Desperate Breakout in order to do so. So first of all, I'm forcing him to spend 2 CP that he didn't want to spend because he needs them for all of his strats. But also further to that, then when he falls back in his turn, I can spend 2 CP to consolidate. So he basically does that, he falls back, and then I spend 2 CP, I can consolidate and tag all of his other armigers, and now, in his shooting phase, he still can't shoot the Terminators. So really, really powerful trick. If you can force your opponent into a position where they have to fall back, or basically, but you've got to, in order for this to work, you have to pin them, right? Because if they fall back, but you haven't pinned them, then, you know, they're just going to shoot you. So you've got to pin them so that they can't fall back, and then force them to waste their CP on Desperate Breakout, fall back, and then you tag them again anyway. So yeah, that was a really powerful trick that worked on him, and that's one of the other things that sort of facilitated that big win. It wasn't a huge win. He actually caught me slightly out of position and was able to take out my Sorcerer early, and as a result, huge unnecessarily powerful 5G tower in the background. And I'm also my phone isn't 5G enabled yet, so this is 4G, even though there's the fucking giant 5G tower. I can't even see it, but sure. Anyway, I've just lost my train of thought because I fucking stopped to read a comment. Oh yeah, it wasn't a huge win because he was able to kill my Sorcerer early, because I basically had to teleport up with the Sorcerer, and then when the charge for the Terminators went in, I strung out and the Sorcerer was left on his own, which was a huge misplay by me. But then I was like, oh, it's okay, I've got the Master of Possessions nearby, so he can always do Warp Ritual later. So yeah, that happened, and then basically he was able to get angles on, and he was eventually, over the course of the game, he was able to kill my Master of Possessions, and as a result, I think I only scored 7 for Warp Ritual. I think I got it twice. And then, so that was a bit of a mistake. I should have played a little bit more conservative with those characters to protect them so that I could get that score. And that, as a result, lowered my total score a little bit. And then also, he was able to do a pretty good job of taking down my banners, because we played a 5 objective mission. I obviously raised my home banner and had that up all game. He didn't come anywhere near it. But the one on the flank that I sent my Raptors out to, like, they went out, raised that banner turn 1. I scored that point on turn 2, but then on turn 3 he pulled it down. And I was then struggled to get it back up because he's gone, cool, he's killed all my cultists and stuff now, so all I've got left is characters to raise a banner. And all of the characters were sort of clustered in the center. So as a result, I was able to raise the banner in the center and have 2 up, but that was more or less it. Until like turn 5, I was able to then like spread out with all my characters that were left and raise a bunch. So yeah, so that was really cool. And then I got paired second game, which we've just finished, it's still going on for everybody else, was into Adam Camilleri. Now, you may recognize him from Art of War Down Under. You may recognize him from the battle report that I did with him. He was running Dark Angels. And for pretty much the entire year, he has been the #1 Dark Angels player in the world. And he's very excited at the moment because Dark Angels just obviously just got a huge buff. So he's absolutely, crushing it at the moment. And I got paired into him, and I didn't realize when I was sort of theorizing the matchup and thinking about how I would approach it, I didn't realize that the Black Knights, he had 2 massive units of Black Knights, and then a bunch of the land speeders with all of their shooting. And I didn't realize that the Black Knights can pre-game move like 17 inches. So I was like, fuck, if he goes first, he's going to be able to pregame move 17, then move 17, and shoot my Terminators before I get any of my buffs up. And I was like, I actually don't have anywhere to hide. There's nowhere that I can deploy those Terminators that he won't be able to get them. So I'm like, fuck, if he goes first, he just wins. So then I was like, okay, well, maybe I just deploy hyper aggressively and then try and create a situation where if I go first, I just win, right? But then, so originally I was going to start deploying and just put all my Terminators on the line, all my Heck Brutes on the line, Decimators on the line, everything on the table, and then just go, cool, if I go first, I'm going to just kill a shit ton of stuff. But then I realized he can actually hide almost all of his shit as well. And I don't have the same ability to get those angles that he does. So that the Heck Brutes and the Decimators, whether I go first or second, either way, they're not going to be doing much, right? Sorry. So I decided in the end to strat reserves the fucking Heck Brutes and the Decimators, all of them. And then I basically used my cultists to block out a bunch of his movement so that he could move up with his pre-game move, but he has to end 9 inches away from my units. And then with his remaining move, he actually wouldn't be able to get past the cultists. And because he has no way to deal damage in the movement phase, there would be no way that he could actually move past to get angles on my Terminators. Even though my Terminators were relatively exposed, that his movement wasn't going to let him get there due to the cultists. So I had to sacrifice my cultists, which means I couldn't take banners, because obviously I was using the cultists, so in turn 1 they would all be dead, and therefore the only unit that I'd have raising banners is like, 1 unit of Raptors, so that's bad. So instead I was like, okay, fuck, I guess I take like behind enemy lines, and like I took the Long War, which I actually got 11 points out of Long War, which was actually pretty good. But he effectively won the game, and I'll explain how this sort of all unfolded. I went first, which was really good for me, and basically Veilbreaker Plate got my Illusory Supplication off, Veilbreaker Plated up into the middle of the table, and then moved the cultists. Well, they were going to die anyway. There was nowhere I could put them that they would live, so I was like, cool, they just move forward, I guess. And then I got all my buffs. Every Psychic Power I got off, I got all of my command phase stuff went off. I was like, yep, cool, I'm feeling good. I'm in the center. I got my Warp Ritual for the first turn. I'm like, yep, this is feeling good. And then in his turn, we talked it out, because me and Adam are really good mates. So we talked it out, and we realized that, and this is an interesting takeaway, was he can, if he moves up and he's got basically Weapons of the Dark Age to get +1 damage on his stuff, and then he can overcharge with the Plasma. But because I have Illusory Supplication, he can't re-roll his hit rolls, which means that if he rolls any 1s, that his models die. But we realized that if he can kill all of those Terminators, it doesn't matter. If he can kill all of my Terminators, he just wins the game from there. Because then I have a couple of characters that are exposed in the middle of the table that he can pick up the following turn, and a couple of things that are in strat reserves that are going to come on, kill something, and then he'll be able to kill them as well. So he actually did the big dick play, which was he overcharged anyway, knowing that he was going to die, but also knowing that it meant that he was getting +1 damage and +1 strength essentially into my Terminators. And through the shooting of both of those big units of Black Knights and his missile guys, the Land Speeder Storms or whatever they're called, and his 3 Talon Masters, he killed 7 of my fucking Terminators in his shooting phase. And then I failed my morale because I didn't have the CP for an auto pass, so I failed my morale, so that's 8 dead. And then luckily the other 2 passed their combat attrition, so 2 Terminators left, and I'm like, holy fuck, he's just killed 8 Terminators. I was like, maybe he kills 5, and it may sound like what's the difference between having 2 Terminators alive or 5? It's actually huge, because then if I had 5 left, I could have resurrected one to be 6 left, and then those 6 have enough damage output to actually kill one of those Black Knight units, right? But only 2 guys left, that doesn't have enough damage output to kill a Black Knight unit. So it was game over at that point. I was like, there's nothing I can do. And there was nothing I could have done. Like, I had every buff, you know, and there was nowhere that I could have hidden. So it was like, there's nowhere I can hide. I have the most durable unit that you can pretty much make in the fucking game, and he just killed it in one turn. So that's really making me think that the Arcs of Omen, particularly for Chaos Veterans, but Arcs of Omen, everything dies so easy. I think this edition is just the remainder of this edition, this season, is really going to be about MSU, strat reserves, and playing into that trading card game. Because if you try to invest in making one of your units durable, it's not going to matter, because there are units out there that do enough damage that they're going to actually just break you anyway. So that was my takeaway from that. So basically, he went in and killed almost all my Terminators. Then we basically went over into my my turn, and my Terminators, I then went, okay, well, cool, I'm going to Black Legion them, Red Corsairs them, and I'm going to advance and charge them over into this ruin and kill some scouts, which will get me my long war points. And then I'm also Abaddon's going to get advance and charge from my Dark Apostle, and he's going to go in and kill some stuff. And like I punched back pretty hard. I kept hitting him back, and I kept getting behind enemy lines because I had those Terminators in his back lines. So I ended up scoring quite a few points, but then basically by turn 3, I had nothing left on the table. And he essentially just wiped me, right? And then he was getting huge primaries for the rest of the game. I was getting no primaries. It was a hold 2, hold more. So holding one objective gave me no points. So even though I had one of my Heck Brutes came on from strat reserves to hold my home objective, but it was like, it doesn't matter because holding one objective is worth nothing. And he still had his whole fucking army on the table. So he was holding all the objectives. So it's just like, there's no way I can bridge that gap. There's nothing I can do to get back in the game, you know. And at that point, he took like Codex Warfare. So he just decided for the rest of the game, he's just not going to shoot any of his weapons that aren't heavy weapons. And he's just going to, every turn, he's just going to kill things with that, kill some stuff there. It was a rough game, very rough game. We finished it like with almost 2 hours left in the round because we accelerated the pace of the game really, really fast. Maybe what I could have done differently in hindsight is slowed the pace of the game down. So what I could have done is, instead of Veil Breakering out turn 1, I could have just gone, cool, in my first turn, I'm going to put my buffs up, and I'm just going to like move slightly to one edge or the other so that I can see something, but you won't be able to bring your whole army to bear at once. Make it so that he could only hit me with a couple of units, like maybe try to stay outside of the range of some of the Black Knights, or, you know, because he had a unit of infiltrators as well, which is a really important point. Like, I actually couldn't hit his Black Knights. I could shoot them, and I shot some of them, but I basically couldn't hit his Black Knights. So he was going to be able to bring them to bear pretty much no matter where I went, no matter what I did. But what I could have done is maybe just stayed turtled for a turn, stayed hidden behind my home objective. So I've had a turn where I've done nothing, then he has a turn. As a result, he has to do nothing. And then on my next turn, I could have gone, cool, now I'm bringing out the Terminators and the Decimators and the Heck Brutes all together. And maybe that could have been better. Who knows? Who fucking knows? But yeah, so I just thought I'd hit you guys with a quick update on this one. Letting you know how I'm going. I'll do this every time I finish a round if there's tons of time left in the round. If the game goes to time more or less and then we're going straight into the next round, I obviously won't, which was what happened in the previous one. But yeah, I'll try and keep you guys posted. Let me know if there's any specific questions that you would like answered when talking about these rounds. If there's any specific questions you have there. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. I will see you in the next one. Cheers. Oh, there. I just figured out how to open the chat. Fuck yeah. Okay, cool. Maybe I'll read through these real quick. So I just figured out how to do that. That's cool. Okay, it looks like more or less didn't miss any thunder strikes. Is that the name of the big fucking land speeder things with the missile launchers and cannons and shit? He had 3 of those. But yeah, alright, cool. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. I will see you in the next one. Cheers. How do I close this fucking thing?